the invisible energy trap, destroying your life. You are not tired because you need more sleep. That is the lie almost everyone believes. The real reason you feel exhausted all day is much darker than that. Your brain is overloaded, overstimulated, and slowly losing its ability to create natural energy. Think about this for a second. How many times have you woken up tired, even after sleeping for hours? How many times have simple tasks felt mentally painful? How many times have you said, "I'll do it later," while feeling guilty for having no energy to move? This is not normal. Researchers studying dopamine and attention discovered something disturbing about the modern brain. Constant stimulation changes the way your mind produces motivation. Short videos, notifications, endless scrolling, background noise, fast entertainment, instant pleasure. Your brain never rests anymore. It stays trapped in a constant state of microstimulation that quietly destroys focus, discipline, and emotional energy. And the scary part is that most people think they are lazy. But laziness is rarely the real problem. Specialists in behavioral psychology explain that the human brain was never designed to process this level of stimulation every day. Your nervous system is burning energy, reacting to thousands of tiny distractions without you even noticing it. That is why your body feels heavy before the day even starts. Your brain is exhausted before you do anything meaningful. This is why motivation disappears. This is why concentration feels impossible. This is why your mind keeps searching for more stimulation while feeling more tired at the same time. Your brain has been trained to crave easy dopamine while losing the ability to generate deep energy naturally. And if you do not understand what is happening, this cycle gets worse every month. Because the more stimulation your brain consumes, the weaker your natural drive becomes. But there is something most people never discover. There is a psychological trigger capable of restoring mental energy faster than people imagine. High performers use it constantly, without even realizing it. Once you understand how it works, your brain starts responding differently, almost immediately. And the next part explains exactly why your brain became addicted to exhaustion in the first place. Your brain is addicted to easy dopamine. Your brain is not weak. It has been trained. Every time you grab your phone without thinking, every time you jump between apps, every time you consume fast entertainment for hours, your brain receives tiny dopamine spikes that slowly rewire the way you experience motivation. At first, it feels harmless. A few videos, a few notifications, a little scrolling to relax. But researchers studying attention and behavioral addiction observed something alarming. The brain adapts extremely fast to high stimulation. What once felt exciting quickly becomes normal. Then the brain starts demanding more stimulation just to feel emotionally active. This creates a dangerous cycle. The more instant pleasure you consume, the harder real life starts to feel. Simple tasks become mentally exhausting because your brain compares everything to fast dopamine. Reading feels slow. Working feels painful. Discipline feels unbearable. Even silence starts feeling uncomfortable. That is why so many people feel tired after doing almost nothing all day. Their brains are overstimulated. But specialists in cognitive performance explain that constant stimulation fragments attention. Your mind never fully recovers because it never fully disconnects. Even when your body is resting, your brain keeps scanning for the next reward. Notification, message, video, entertainment, distraction. Your nervous system stays alert all the time. Imagine forcing a car engine to run at high speed for the entire day without stopping. Eventually, the engine overheats. That is exactly what is happening inside your brain. Your mind is running an emotional marathon while your body sits still. And the worst part is that modern stimulation tricks you into believing you are recovering when you are actually draining yourself even more. This is why binge watching makes you more tired. This is why endless scrolling destroys motivation. This is why people feel mentally empty after consuming content for hours. Scientists from multiple universities studying dopamine regulation found that overstimulation reduces the brain's sensitivity to reward over time. In simple terms, your brain stops responding strongly to normal life, and when normal life stops feeling rewarding, energy disappears with it. That is why people keep searching for motivation while unconsciously destroying the biological system responsible for creating it. But the next problem goes even deeper, because your exhaustion is not only coming from stimulation, it is also coming from something your brain never gets anymore. True mental recovery, the real reason you feel exhausted after doing nothing. One of the biggest lies people believe is that exhaustion only comes from hard work. It does not. Some of the most mentally drained people barely move all day, because real exhaustion is not always physical. Most of the time, it is cognitive. Your brain becomes tired from constant switching, constant thinking, constant stimulation, and constant emotional pressure. You wake up already carrying unfinished thoughts, things you need to do, problems you keep postponing, messages you forgot to answer, goals you abandoned, decisions you still have not made. Your mind never fully shuts down. Behavioral researchers discovered that unresolved mental tension quietly consumes energy in the background all day long. Even when you are relaxing, part of your brain is still processing stress, uncertainty, comparison, and emotional overload. That is why you can spend hours doing nothing and still feel exhausted at night. Your brain stayed active the entire time, and modern life makes this even worse. Most people no longer focus on one thing at a time. They switch constantly between screens, conversations, apps, worries, and distractions. This fragmented attention forces the brain to repeatedly restart its focus system over and over again. That process burns energy fast. Specialists studying attention fatigue explain that every interruption leaves behind something called mental residue. Part of your attention stays trapped in the previous task, even after you move to the next one. Now imagine this happening hundreds of times every day. No wonder your brain feels heavy. No wonder your motivation disappears before the afternoon even starts. This is why people sit in front of a computer for hours, accomplish almost nothing, and still feel emotionally destroyed afterward. Their brains never enter deep focus. They stay trapped in shallow stimulation and fragmented thinking. And there is another dangerous effect nobody talks about. The more mentally exhausted you become, the more your brain searches for easy dopamine to escape discomfort. That creates more scrolling, more distraction, more stimulation, and even less energy. The cycle feeds itself. This is why so many people feel stuck in a permanent state of fatigue, procrastination, and mental fog. But there is one specific mistake that accelerates this cycle faster than almost anything else. And most people do it less than 5 minutes after waking up. The morning mistake that kills your energy for the entire day. The first battle of your day starts before your feet touch the floor. And most people lose that battle within seconds. They wake up and immediately grab their phone. It feels automatic, harmless, normal. But researchers studying dopamine, attention, and behavioral conditioning discovered that this single habit can completely change your brain's energy levels for the rest of the day. The moment you open social media, messages, videos, news, or notifications, right after waking up, your brain receives an explosion of external stimulation before it has fully activated naturally. Your nervous system instantly shifts into reactive mode. Instead of creating focus, your brain starts chasing stimulation. Instead of building clarity, your mind starts consuming noise. Instead of controlling attention, your attention gets hijacked. This is why so many people already feel mentally scattered before breakfast. Your brain was designed to wake up gradually. Exposure to natural light, movement, silence, hydration, and calm focus help regulate dopamine and cortisol in a healthy way. But the phone interrupts that entire process. Specialists in cognitive performance explain that early overstimulation increases impulsive behavior throughout the day. In simple terms, your brain becomes more distracted, less disciplined, and more emotionally reactive. And the dangerous part is that most people think their lack of motivation starts later in the day. It doesn't. It starts the moment they allow random stimulation to control their mind after waking up. Your morning creates momentum. If your brain starts the day consuming dopamine, it spends the rest of the day craving more dopamine. That is why focus becomes harder. That is why boredom feels unbearable. That is why work feels heavier than it should. Scientists observing habit formation found that the brain strengthens whatever pattern repeats consistently after waking up. If distraction becomes your first ritual, distraction slowly becomes your default mental state. But something powerful happens when you reverse this process. Even small changes during the first minutes of the morning can dramatically increase mental clarity and natural energy. No pone, no noise. No instant stimulation. Just moment light, breathing, and intentional focus. That simple shift starts teaching your brain to generate energy internally again instead of depending on external stimulation every few minutes. But now comes the part most people completely misunderstand about motivation itself. Because energy is not something you wait for, it is something you create. The motivation trick high performers use to create energy. Most people believe they need motivation before taking action. That belief destroys more lives than lack of talent ever will. They wait to feel ready, wait to feel inspired, wait to feel energetic. And while they wait, their brain becomes weaker. Researchers studying human behavior discovered something fascinating about motivation. The brain rarely creates energy before movement begins. It creates energy after movement starts. This changes everything. High performers understand a psychological principle that most people never realize. Action generates motivation far more reliably than motivation generates action. That is why some people look unstoppable even on difficult days. They do not rely on emotion to begin. They rely on momentum. The moment movement starts, the brain reacts. Heart rate changes, attention sharpens. Dopamine increases. Mental resistance weakens. Scientists observing habit formation found that starting is usually the hardest part because the brain sees uncertainty as a threat. Your mind tries to conserve energy by pushing you toward comfort and distraction. That is why your brain tells you, do it later, rest first, start tomorrow. But something incredible happens when you interrupt that pattern with immediate action. Even 5 minutes of intentional movement can completely shift your mental state. 5 minutes cleaning your room, 5 minutes exercising, 5 minutes writing, 5 minutes focused on one difficult task without distraction. That small action sends a message to the brain. We are moving now. And once momentum begins, motivation starts catching up. Specialists in performance psychology explain that motion reduces emotional resistance because the brain stops imagining effort and starts adapting to reality instead. This is why disciplined people often seem more energetic than everyone else. Not because life feels easier for them, because movement itself creates energy. Your brain was designed to reward action, exploration, challenge, and progress. But modern habits train people to sit still while consuming endless stimulation. That disconnect slowly destroys natural drive. The dangerous truth is that overthinking drains more energy than action does. The longer you hesitate, the heavier everything feels. But the moment you move, your brain starts waking up. This is the trick. Force movement before emotion. Do not negotiate with your feelings. Do not wait for perfect motivation. Start before your mind feels ready. Because once the brain detects forward movement, it begins releasing the chemistry needed to continue. And there is another factor quietly stealing energy from millions of people every single day without them noticing. Their environment. Why your environment is making you weaker every day. Most people think exhaustion only comes from inside the body. But energy is deeply connected to the environment surrounding your brain every single day. Look carefully at how most people live now. Artificial light all night, constant background noise, messy rooms, screens everywhere, negative content, no silence, no sunlight, no real recovery. Then they wonder why their mind feels heavy all the time. Behavior specialists explain that the human brain constantly absorbs signals from the environment, even when you are not consciously paying attention. Your nervous system is always asking one silent question. Is this environment helping me focus or draining me? And for most people, the answer is draining. Researchers studying cognitive overload found that cluttered environments increase mental fatigue because the brain keeps processing unfinished visual information in the background. Even small messes create tiny attention drains that accumulate throughout the day. This is why some rooms instantly make you feel tired without knowing why. Your brain never fully relaxes there. The same thing happens with noise and overstimulation. Constant music, videos playing in the background, endless notifications, and chaotic environments force your attention system to stay partially activated all day long. Your nervous system never enters recovery mode. And then there is something even more dangerous: emotional environment. The people around you shape your energy more than you realize. Negativity spreads fast through the brain. Studies observing emotional contagion found that stress, pessimism, and emotional instability influence attention, motivation, and even physical energy levels. That means if you spend enough time around distracted, negative, undisciplined people, your brain slowly adapts to that emotional standard. Your environment trains your identity. This is why highly disciplined people protect their space aggressively. They understand something most people ignore. Energy is not random. It is conditioned. The room you sleep in affects your recovery. The content you consume affects your focus. The conversations you hear affect your emotional state. The amount of stimulation around you affects your dopamine system. Your brain is always adapting to its and many modern environments are quietly training people to become mentally weak, distracted, overstimulated, and exhausted. But there is another trap that makes this even worse. A trap that feels comfortable while slowly destroying ambition, motivation, and emotional strength from the inside out. And most people are living inside it every day without realizing it. The dangerous comfort loop keeping you tired. Your brain was built to adapt. That is what makes humans powerful. But it is also what makes modern comfort so dangerous. The more comfort your brain experiences without effort, the more difficult normal life starts to feel. Researchers studying behavioral adaptation observe that the brain quickly becomes dependent on convenience, stimulation, and low-resistance environments. And once that happens, discomfort starts feeling like suffering. This is why simple things now feel exhausting for so many people. Getting out of bed feels heavy. Focusing feels painful. Exercise feels impossible. Deep work feels overwhelming. Not because the tasks are impossible, because the brain lost tolerance for discomfort. Modern life trains people to escape resistance immediately. The second boredom appears, people grab their phones. The second stress appears, they distract themselves. The second effort appears, they look for entertainment. Over time, the brain starts associating comfort with safety and effort with danger. That changes everything. Specialists in performance psychology explain that avoidance behavior weakens mental resilience extremely fast. Every time you escape discomfort instead of confronting it, your brain learns a dangerous lesson. Discomfort must be avoided. And eventually, even small challenges drain your energy before you begin. This creates what researchers call passive fatigue. The body becomes physically inactive while the brain becomes emotionally fragile. The person feels tired constantly. Not because they use too much energy, but because they stopped activating the systems that create energy naturally. Movement creates energy. Challenge creates adaptation. Purpose creates momentum. Comfort without limits creates apathy. Look at animal behavior in nature. Mammals that stop moving, exploring, hunting, or interacting with their environment become weaker over time. Their systems slow down because survival no longer demands activation. The human brain responds similarly. When your life becomes endless consumption without meaningful challenge, your nervous system starts operating at lower levels of drive, focus, and alertness. That is why too much comfort often creates emotional emptiness instead of peace. Your brain was designed to engage with difficulty, not avoid it constantly. And the frightening part is that this comfort loop feels good while it is destroying you. That is why people stay trapped inside it for years. But the good news is that the brain can recover faster than most people imagine. And the next part reveals how to reset your energy, focus, and motivation in less than 24 hours. How to reset your energy in less than 24 hours. Your brain does not need months to start changing. It needs a different signal. Researchers studying dopamine recovery discovered that the nervous system responds surprisingly fast when stimulation overload is reduced and natural behaviors are restored. In simple terms, your brain starts recovering the moment you stop attacking it with constant noise, distraction, and artificial dopamine. That means your energy can begin changing within a single day. But only if you interrupt the cycle correctly. The first step is silence. Most people wake up consuming information immediately. Their brains never experience stillness anymore. But specialists studying cognitive recovery explain that even short periods of silence reduce mental fatigue and help regulate attention systems. For one morning, stop feeding your brain chaos. No scrolling, no random videos, no constant input. Let your mind breathe before the world enters it. The second step is light and movement. Scientists observing circadian rhythms found that natural sunlight early in the morning helps regulate dopamine, cortisol, alertness, and energy production. Combine that with physical movement, and your brain starts waking up naturally instead of depending on stimulation. Walk fast, exercise, stretch aggressively. Move your body before your mind starts negotiating against action, because once movement begins, energy follows. The third step is reducing dopamine overload. Your brain cannot recover while consuming stimulation every few minutes. Constant novelty keeps your nervous system fragmented and emotionally tired. For one day, reduce unnecessary stimulation intentionally. Fewer notifications, less background noise, less multitasking, less random content. Watch what happens to your attention. At first, your brain may feel uncomfortable. That is normal. Researchers explain that overstimulated brains often react to silence, like an addiction reacting to withdrawal. But then, something powerful starts happening. Your focus slowly sharpens. Your thoughts become clearer. Your emotional state stabilizes. Simple tasks stop feeling unbearable. And then comes one of the most important parts. Micro-wins. Behavior specialists discovered that the brain rebuilds motivation through small, completed actions. Every time you finish something intentionally, your brain receives proof that progress is happening. Make your bed, clean your space. Finish one difficult task. Drink water consistently. Complete small promises to yourself. Tiny victories reactivate self. And when self-trust returns, energy follows behind it. But there is one final shift that changes everything permanently. Because real energy is not only built through habits, it is built through identity. The identity shift that changes everything. Most people keep saying the same words every day without realizing they are programming their brain. I'm always tired. I have no motivation. I can't focus. I'm lazy. I'll never be disciplined. At first, those sentences feel harmless, but researchers studying self-perception and behavioral conditioning discovered something powerful. The brain slowly adapts to the identity you repeat consistently. In other words, your mind starts organizing behavior around the person you believe you are. That means if you constantly describe yourself as exhausted, distracted, and unmotivated, your brain begins treating those states like permanent truths instead of temporary conditions. And once fatigue becomes identity, escaping it becomes much harder. This is why some people stay trapped for years inside the same emotional patterns even when they desperately want change. Their habits reinforce their identity. Their identity reinforces their habits. The cycle keeps repeating, but high performers operate differently. They do not wait to feel like disciplined people before acting disciplined. They begin acting differently first, and then the brain slowly updates identity afterward. That is how transformation actually happens. Specialists in habit formation explain that every repeated action becomes evidence. The brain constantly collects proof about who you are based on what you repeatedly do. Every distraction strengthens one identity. Every intentional action strengthens another. That means your future is being shaped by small daily behaviors most people ignore. The moment you wake up intentionally instead of reaching for stimulation, Your brain notices the moment you finish difficult tasks despite resistance. Your brain notices. The moment you stop obeying every emotion, your brain notices. Little by little, your nervous system starts building a new self-image. A stronger one, a more focused one, a more disciplined one. And this changes energy at the deepest level possible, because people with strong identities waste less energy fighting themselves internally. Their brains stop negotiating constantly. Action becomes more automatic because the behavior aligns with who they believe they are. This is why disciplined people often seem calmer, sharper, and more energized. Their minds are no longer divided. And the truth is that your brain is listening to you all the time. Every excuse, every repetition, every label, every thought you reinforce emotionally. So stop feeding your mind the identity that is destroying your energy, because the final decision you make after this video will determine which version of yourself grows stronger from this point forward. The decision that will define your future. Right now, two versions of your future are fighting inside your mind. One version keeps living exactly like this, waking up tired, scrolling endlessly, delaying important things, feeling mentally heavy every day, watching motivation disappear little by little while life keeps moving forward. That future does not happen suddenly. It happens quietly. Researchers studying human behavior observed that small repeated actions shape emotional states over time. Tiny daily decisions slowly become personality, lifestyle, health, discipline, and destiny. That means exhaustion is not only a feeling anymore. For many people, it becomes a direction. And the frightening part is that the brain adapts to whatever you repeat long enough. If distraction becomes your routine, your brain normalizes distraction. If fatigue becomes your identity, your mind starts protecting it unconsciously. But there is another future available to you. A future where your brain feels clear again, where focus stops feeling impossible, where energy comes from momentum instead of stimulation, where discipline becomes natural because your mind is no longer overloaded every second of the day. That transformation does not begin with motivation. It begins with one decision: the decision to stop feeding the habits destroying your nervous system, the decision to stop obeying every impulse, the decision to reclaim control over your attention before distraction becomes permanent. Scientists studying neuroplasticity explain that the brain constantly rewires itself based on repetition. That means every action you take after this moment matters more than you think. Every distraction strengthens one version of you. Every intentional action strengthens another. And deep down, you already know which version is winning right now. Your energy is not gone forever. Your focus is not broken permanently. Your motivation is not dead. Your brain has simply adapted to the environment and habits you repeated long enough. But adaptation works both ways. The same brain that learned exhaustion can learn strength again. The same mind trapped in distraction can rebuild focus again. The same person who feels mentally weak today can become disciplined again. But only if you stop waiting. Because your brain is waiting for a decision you continue postponing. And the moment you finally make it, everything starts changing.